Hi, everyone. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the following podcast belong solely to the host and its contributors. They are not necessarily the views of our employers, organizations, committees, or other group or individual.
Well, hey, welcome back to another episode of Brewing with BIM. What's going on, David?
Not much, Joe. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Doing well. Gotta ask you, what are you drinking?
So today, man, I actually kind of went all out and bought one of the most expensive six-packs I could find. So, yeah.
Dude, you balling on a budget? No more, man. What's going
right. on? Well, we have this, my mom, where she lives in Walkerton, has this little liquor store down the road. And they let you do kind of pick your own six-pack from craft beer.
Mix your six.
Yeah. I went around and I picked a couple local brews. So I wanted to start with what's called a mail order bride, which is a Russian Imperial Stout from Bare Hands Brewery in Goshen, Indiana. So I'm going to start with that one. And then I'm going to end up working my way through. Now, I'm not going to lie, dude. These are kind of special. And we're going to see how I do towards the end of the podcast as I'm thinking that. But I found a couple of barrel-aged series by Avery Brewing out of Boulder, Colorado. And there is a rumpkin. It's an ale brewed with pumpkin and spices aged in rum barrels, 16.9%. It was bottled August 1st, 2017. And then a Uncle Jacob's Stout aged in bourbon barrels, 15.9%, bottled February 6th, 2018. And then to get even more fancy, to get a little bit more fancy on it, right? We're going to take the ABV. We're going to take that to 11 and 12% back down, though, because I don't want to be belligerent by the end of the podcast. So I got a Chimay Doré, which is the gold. And what's funny about this is it's a Trappist beer.
Yeah, I love Chimay.
And I've never had it before. And the lady at the, what was it called? Oh, Off the Clock in Lakeville, Indiana. That's what it was called, Off the Clock. Wonderful lady in there, kind of toured me around and showed me many different beers that they had that are local, and some that she gets that are pretty rare. And the Chimay was on there, and she's like, yeah, it's only brewed in monasteries, and that's pretty neat, man. It's very, very neat. So I was like, all right. And then we're going to finish it up with a Dirty Little Freak by Duclaw Brewing.
All right, man. I feel ill prepared on the alcohol front then. You're going all dark and heavy. You got some nice Trappist breweries in there. By the way, I'm a big fan of the Trappist breweries. I don't know if we've ever had this conversation before, but I'm all about that.
We could have a big conversation on that. I did not know about it until I started reading it.
Dude,
and
yes.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it is cool, man. Talk about the old school Monk's Brew and Beer type thing.
Yeah.
It's an awesome, cool thing to think about. So I'm keeping it light, dude. You're going all heavy and dark, and you're going to be full like 2 beers in, by the way. But I haven't had too many Gosa beers, and I haven't really found too many Gosa beers here in the U.S. But I've got this Dogfish Head Super Gosa. It's called Super 8. And Gosas are typically half corn. No, half wheat. Sorry, half wheat. Right? It's half corn or half wheat.
What is it called?
It's a Gosa, Gose. Yeah. And this one has it's a wheat. Sorry, it's a wheat beer. It's traditionally half wheat in the
50% grain.
Yeah.
Still being malted wheat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. 50% of the grain is malted wheat, and this one has it's a sour. It's got let me read the back so I don't butcher this. It's got Hawaiian sea salt, quinoa, and a whole multitude of delicious fruits: boysenberry, blackberry, prickly pear, mango, raspberry. Definitely the raspberry comes through, and kiwi juices. And I don't know if it's the kiwi, but I get a hint of watermelon the sourness from that. I don't know. It's fantastic. Um, it's not what I think of when I think of Dogfish Head beers. Not as local as you. This is in Dogfish Head's Delaware, but uh, right at the low end for me on the alcohol, 5.3%. I'm not going to be catching up to you anytime.
Pacing yourself.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's probably the better idea.
It's all right though. I've got 2.5 of these, and then after this, I'll be switching to some Elvis juice. They just opened I drank this so much on the podcast, the Elvis juice and Brewdog. They're Scottish-born, Ohio brewed. Well, they just opened a place here in Pittsburgh, so I'm really excited about that.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
And this, I'm going to tell you, this Imperial Stout, I am a fan. I mean, I love Russian Imperial Stouts. Old Rasputin, you give me an Old Rasputin, I'm good to go. This mail order Bride, it's pretty good. I can taste the chocolate and the vanilla kind of coming through. That's what I love about stouts, man. You can give me, if I could be a fat kid and almost eat cake while I'm drinking beer, I am like in.
Yeah, I'm gonna kick back and drink something a little lighter. It's been a little too hot lately for me, so maybe that's part of it.
Yeah. Lately in Indiana here, it's been hot and humid, and I was stuck on a lot of the fruity, or even the lining kugels, the summer shandy, lemon summer shandy. Oh man! But today actually got some good rain last night, and it knocked it down to 60s, 70s, and I'm like, right.
That's refreshing.
Darker beer, yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man.
We've been kind of in the same boat, although it just rained today. In fact, it's probably still raining, and it's just even more humid. It's not, the temperature's still 85. Just humid, muggy. Yeah. So, but because of the heat the past few days, I pretty much got on the Corona bandwagon. Figure I'd beat some coronavirus with some Corona Lights and see how that turned out. Still here, still taking, so maybe it worked. I don't know. But anyways, man, today's episode. So to take a note from another podcast I listened to, shout out to Construction Dorks, Travis Voss and those guys. This is kind of an episode about nothing. We are not going to talk too much about BIM. Instead, we're going to talk a lot about brewing today, and beer and different setups. I just started piecing mine together. All that stuff gets here this week, and over the next week, hopefully the week before or the weekend. Yeah, the weekend of or the weekend after 4th of July, I'll be able to start brewing. But I'll start recording videos and do some write-ups on my setup. But I wanted to kind of talk about what we got going on that front, as well as discuss AU 2020 and the different changes that are happening. And some interesting stuff. So without jumping too much into the surprise of my setup, man, I know you've got a setup already. What is your current process? Do you sparge? Do you brew in a bag? I mean, what's your current?
So mine, I'm kind of transitioning. When I first started, I was doing the brew kits, and they would give you a mixed set of grains. They would give you the malt, any of the sugars or the yeast that you would need to pick, essentially everything in a box and a recipe to follow. So that was simple enough. Actually, it was a place in Valparaiso, Indiana, and it was the homebrew store, and fantastic owner. Actually, every time I went in there, if I had any questions on it, he'd always help me out. I told him after, I think it was my 4th or 5th brew kit that I had done. So I tried brewing wine, and actually had pretty good results there. Did a blackberry and a Concord, just kind of red wine, and then I moved over into beer. When I made my transition from it was the brewer's best, right? I started out with 5-gallon buckets, and you'll get a little aerator, and then you get a carboy, different things like that to kind of start brewing through. But as I was ready to kind of transition up, I ended up getting a conical fermenter. I was going to look up the name of it if I could. I will definitely recommend this to anybody if you are looking to get into brewing. Look up a conical fermenter, just because what you're going to notice is, with mine specifically, which here's a picture of it, the fast ferment conical fermenter. What you'll notice is with beer, typically your yeast, everything that you put in, if you're making a stout, you put some like cocoa beans in there and some vanilla beans, kind of what have you, after you put it all into ferment, you know that you're going to get some sediment, right? And one of the hardest parts about trying to brew your beer, trying to kind of filter through, check it, is actually getting through a lot of that sediment. And we know that with any bucket, anything that you kind of brew into, the sediment is going to move down to the bottom. And with the conical fermenter, that's kind of perfect because it traps everything in the bottom. And what you'll notice is mine has a little shut-off valve right in the bottom, and it has two little balls that you can kind of take out and put underneath it. So what you can do is take this catcher. It's a little plastic piece. And you open your ball valve, and a lot of the sediment will fall down through into that catcher, and then you can kind of remove that out for the process. But another great thing about it is when you're going to bottle, you can just take the bottom piece off, still keep it capped, and then just take off and put a bottle attachment to it and open the valve, and then it runs through and you can fill up your bottles. Fantastic. Now, if I'm going to talk about the whole brewing process itself, for my wort tun, I actually have, or mash tun to make my wort. I have a cooler. I got like a 55-gallon kind of like cooler. And what I ended up doing was I found that there's a attachment. You can take the drain out, and you can actually replace it with it's a metal piece that screws in, and it has a wire screen, like a wire filter that goes out a ways.
Like a bazooka screen? Is it like 6-inch or 12-inch?
I got the 12-inch.
Yeah.
12-inch. Yeah.
Yeah, those bazooka filters, man, they're awesome.
They're awesome, right, dude? All the grain, everything like that. Because that was a big problem that I had. I mean, if you're trying to brew a lot of beer, a lot of the mash tuns, like some of the bigger ones, it costs a lot of money, right? And it's very hard to get into brewing more beer unless you buy a bunch of different containers, and then it's all kinds of weird. You're trying to balance out the amount of hops and spread it out, your yeast, all that kind of stuff. It's doable, but you know what? I don't want to do a whole lot of math. I'm good with just figuring out what my recipe is and putting it all in and adjusting it little by little. But yeah, dude, when I made that mash tun and I was able to run everything through the wort. Now, I will tell you, getting a wort chiller also is going to be a big help. You got to cool that beer down, or that wort. Sorry, you got to cool your wort down, and there's nothing like sitting on a cooler trying to, or something, trying to keep it in your sink and just put ice around it or cold water as much as you can to try and cool it down for, I don't know, like an hour or two. If you can run it through a wort chiller and then take that temperature down almost, I don't want to say instantly, but down quite a bit, that's going to help with the time of that brew.
Nice. So what are you using so first of all, what are you cooking in? What size pot?
So I was using I was using a 10-gallon stainless steel, and I initially started out with a 7.5-gallon or 7-gallon, but I realized that for the 5-gallon boils it was good, but for anything I wanted to do bigger, obviously it wouldn't work. And then a big tip I'll give anybody out there is do not go with aluminum. You have to go with like a stainless steel. Otherwise, one, you're going to have your beer tasting kind of metallic, because a lot of the metals will actually, from aluminum, will melt out into it. And then it actually
they don't melt, it leaches the flavors.
It leaches the flavors. That's what it is. Yeah. And then, well, ask me how I know, right? But you'll also get a little warping effect on your turkey fryer there, so it doesn't work too well. I'm always going to advise that stainless steel.
No, I'm with you, man. Especially because if you ever scrape the sides of it with any, like if you use we use stainless steel in brewing because it's easy to sanitize. So if you used a wood spoon to stir, you know, you're more likely to transfer bacteria into your beer. But that's probably the only thing you could do to not scrape the sides of your aluminum pan if you're using aluminum, because more often than not, you're going to want to stir with a stainless steel spoon, and you're going to scratch the sides of that more than likely and get some metallic flakes. And it might not seem like a big deal, but the thing about beer is every little thing adds to the flavor. The yeasts in the air add to the flavor. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I hear you.
Yep.
Aluminum is not the way to go. So you're doing a turkey fryer. Is this what, like, so on your turkey fryer to do a 10-gallon pot? Is it like the 200,000 BTU or the 65,000 BTU? How big is the burner? The actual
That's a good question.
ceramic
Piece.
piece?
I'm not sure. Well, the ceramic piece itself is probably a good, I'd say, 12 inches.
Sorry, I said ceramic. I meant cast iron. It's cast iron.
Well, the metal piece, cast iron piece, the burner itself is probably, I'd say, a good 12 inches, around 12 inches to maybe 12 to 14, somewhere right around there. I'm not sure.
The part the flame actually shoots out of.
Yeah,
where the propane
the one I got
comes
is like,
into?
yeah, the part I got,
man.
it sits on top of it. It's about that wide. I got one, I don't know, I think it was from like Harbor Freight or something. I got like this industrial one that I could find, and kind of threw that together. Yeah, I figured it would work. I mean, it works.
Yeah, I bet you're boiling pretty quick with that, man. Dang.
Actually, yeah, it gets up and goes pretty quick, which is nice because you gotta, you'll have to get a rolling boil when you go to pitch in like your different types of hops and then kind of stir it around and make sure you're rolling again. It's nice to be able to get something that that you can control like that, and then I want to say, get up there quick. But that's also, I do want to kind of put a note out there. It's kind of scary too. You got to watch it. You have to be very mindful of your thermometer and of how fast it's going up, and monitoring that heat, because if you're putting too much heat and you're thinking you're good, and a few minutes into your boil it's rolling, but it's over what you need it to be, you're going to burn it. And in that sense too, it's going to change the whole taste of your beer. Yeah,
you just wasted a bunch of grain. Just is what it is there.
Yep.
So you're transferring from this 10-gallon pot into the cooler. Why aren't you doing? I'm just curious. Why aren't you leave it in the pot?
So I did leave it in the pot, but I found out that it was a lot harder to cool and kind of monitor at that point. So I ended up transitioning it into the cooler. Now my goal, the reason I got the cooler, is what I really want to do is actually be able to fill the cooler with boiling water and maybe some type of unit that I can control. Now, the reason I like the cooler in the sense is because it keeps the temperature, right? It's very insulated. It keeps that temperature. So I do like that. And then being able to use my wort chiller in the cooler, for me, I like it a little bit better, because the beer can kind of wrap around it, and then I can kind of just drain it from there. But in the sense of being your mash tun, the cooler can actually do it all. It's just you have to get a good boiling temperature of that water.
So are you doing like a brew in a bag? Or...
Right now, yes, I'm doing a brew in a bag. I had started getting more into recipes, like researching the different types of grains, what flavors they'll bring out, and things like that. But I really hadn't gotten that far into it. I was getting into it, but before we moved, I didn't have the chance to just dive in yet. So yeah, I have a red pale ale, and I think a farmhouse ale or something like that. I got a couple of brew in the bags, which nice. I still like those. I mean, honestly, $15-$20, maybe $30, and they'll give you a bag full of grain, and they'll give you all the different grains. They'll give you a recipe. Your hops are in there a lot of times.
Yeah. Well, so I know brew in a bag. I probably shouldn't have said it that way. Brew in a bag is a term for a setup you can pre-buy, but what I was referring to is brew in a bag. You can use your own ingredients, but you're still using that bag, that cloth bag.
Oh, yes.
And the reason
you're talking about the cheesecloth kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a mesh bag, like 250 microns, something like that. That bag, there's this big debate on, do you want to brew in a bag or do you want a mesh filter, say,
Oh,
400 microns, 300 microns, whatever,
yeah.
that you can sparge so that you can dump hot water out of it. So you're not boiling all of your water at once, and
Hmm.
instead you're rinsing with hot water. And the idea is that you're capturing more of that that flavor, that essence,
Yeah.
that beer, and you're able to make higher strength beer. But that said, I've heard people making 74%, all that sort of stuff just from using boil in a bag. So that's kind of where I'm going this way. I don't have any preference one way or the other. In fact, I have never done the sparge method. It's just something I'd researched,
Yeah.
and I didn't know if you had. I've never seen your setup. I didn't know, man.
No, yeah, no, yep.
Yeah.
I still brew in a bag. I got the mesh bag that I'll boil through the water and then let it drain out and make sure we get all of the tan. Well, I want to call it tannins, but you know
It
what
is
I'm talking
tannins.
about.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
tannins. Yeah,
we want to get okay. I was like,
yeah.
I think that's the
You're
word.
right, man. Yeah.
Get all the tannins and stuff down into your water or into the wort. I'm sorry, and then transition it over. I am still there.
All
It's
right.
an
Cool.
interesting method, though. I think boiling the water and then continuously pouring it over there. I think that'd be a interesting thing to try,
Yeah, I think it requires a pump essentially, and
like a
um,
recirculate.
yeah, like a recirculating. They make this so Grainfather makes this all-in-one system. It's like $1,000. But to anybody out there that's just starting home brewing, I promise you, in 2 years, you'll spend more than $1,000 on your system. So don't worry about it. $1,000 up front is not that big a deal. But anyways, it allows you, I think, to do 5 gallons. But it's just it's an electric element, so no propane, anything. It's like a self-contained unit. But what it does is it has a pump already built in, so you don't have to buy any of these, third-party things and piece your system together like I did and like you did. It's all just one self-contained unit. It boils, it chills,
Wow.
you've got the recirculating pump on it, like it does all that stuff, and you just press some buttons. There's an app you control with your phone. So that's pretty cool. If people that are just getting into it think that what we're talking about is way too over their head, technically, you can do this easily.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of
so
times, guys, if you check out or just go and talk to your homebrew stores, right? They will have so many people there that are usually very inclined to talk to you and share their knowledge. There are a lot of forums out there as well. I liked so I started with, as I said, the Brewer's Best kits, and I really like that because it gave me an idea of. So not only did they give me an ingredient list, but they also tell you, they break down the process of what you need to do and why you're doing it. So in that sense, I'm learning, yes, I'm adding these hops at this point in time, but I know why I'm doing it. In that sense, it begins to build that, I want to call that base, right? That base of brewing, that brewing base for you. And you can kind of build off of that and say, okay, I'm done with these kits, but I know that I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this. And you can start customizing your own setup from there and kind of growing with it. And also in terms of tweaking the recipes, because I don't know about you guys, but me being a cook, I love to tweak recipes and see how I can just make things a little bit better. Or, if I'm making like I want to call it like a Blue Moon kind of style beer, maybe I want to bring out more of the orange flavor with it, right? What can I do with a little bit more orange slice? Or maybe I'll take some orange extract and put it in my secondary fermentation stage to see if I can bring out a little more of that zest, something like that. I love doing that with my beers, and it gave me a good place to start with to be able to do that.
yeah, that's you hit the nail on the head. That's what all of us do. If you even look at a recipe online, you're the type of guy that or gal who deviates from the norm. You're like, I think I want to try this. I'd like this more. That's what home brewing is about too.
Yep.
It's finding something somebody else has done. Maybe you'll follow it to a T the first time around to see how it tastes, but then after that, the next time you're just like, I want more raspberry. I want more.
Yep.
Ah, whatever. I
I'm gonna
want
make this mine.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Or I want to higher or lower gravity, whatever.
Yeah.
So you said something earlier that is something that I've been kind of wrestling with in my head, and that's a secondary fermenter. How critical is that for you?
So it depends on the type of beers. I mean, if I'm making porters, if I'm making stouts, I mean, honestly, I love to customize my beers. So for me, it's pretty important just because that secondary fermentation stage is really where you can add more flavor, right? The primary, yeah, you're looking to establish your OG and you're looking to kind of measure your ABV and kind of see what your beer is going to look like. But if I'm honest, I think a lot of that flavoring comes in that secondary fermentation stage, the extra flavoring that you can do. So for me, I feel like it's important.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think about an IPA. If you're dry hopping, you can dry hop in that secondary fermentation stage, or you can do it in the keg. But if you're bottling beers, that's the only place for you to really do your dry hop is
That's
secondary
true.
fermentation.
Yeah, unless you're putting
Um,
them in a barrel.
yeah, yeah. I think about, for me, like secondary fermentation for the process that I'm doing though, I think the only thing or the best value that it brings is clarity
Mm,
to the beer,
yep.
to the beer. I can't the bear,
The bear.
the
It's a
bear,
bear bear. It's a bear beer.
bear. Yeah, the beer. It's the Texas in me. It's butchered my accent so much. I'm a Yankee by birth. I grew up in Texas, and then it creeps its way back out every now and then. So man, I haven't told you about my system yet, and I have done a lot of research. I haven't
I'm
brewed in
excited to
like
hear about it.
7 years, but I've been geeking. I mean, because I've been spoiled, Northwest, right? I mean, come on. But that said, man, like I've been like trying to figure out how to do this and do this right. A system that be good for a while, and then most of it I can just reuse if I decide to up to a 10 gallon because I'm going to start with a 5 gallon. So what I did first is I got a 32 quart pot, so 8 gallons,
Mhm.
8 gallon pot. It has the filter, or it has the spigot already in it, and it's got a
Nice.
thermometer in it. It's all stainless steel, obviously for the sanitation purposes and the flavor.
Mhm.
But it comes with a false bottom, so a second filter with like
Yeah.
2 inch legs on it.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to burn the grain. And then also it comes with a bazooka filter. So like what you were talking about
Nice.
earlier, putting inside of your cooler, I've got that in there. So I'll do all my stuff in one in this pot. And I'm not going to switch to a mash tun. I'm going to leave it in there. I'm going to do the brew in a bag because that's the method I already feel comfortable with.
Yep.
Not to mention, there aren't too many fine mesh, food safe screens out there that fit certain pots, the pots that I'd like to use. So kind of limited there. That said, I'm going to replace this pot, and I already know this. Probably 2 years from now is my guess.
Hmm.
I'm going to switch. I'm going to get a keg, an old 15.5 gallon
Hmm.
half keg and a half barrel, and I'm going to cut the top off of it and use that just because I imagine this pot that I bought is probably going to last 2 years. I think that they're just making the metal so thin these recently. I don't know how long it's going to last if I'm continuously brewing. Um,
Yeah.
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 So I don't know what do you feel about your pot? Do you think it's going to last forever? What do you think?
No.
Yeah.
No. Good Lord, no. No. I'm literally just planning on going until it's scratched up a little bit, and then I'm gonna toss that thing out and then get a new one. Um, but I've been kind of watching different ways to do your boils, right? And I mean there are some very very expensive setups that you can get into,
Yes,
but
there are.
yeah, that's. I mean, the big thing at the end of the day, though, is like how much beer are you going to brew, right? I mean, and how much money do you want to invest in this? How much time do you want to invest in this? And there are so many different options that you can go where you're going to invest, a little more money, but it's going to last you, 5 to 10 years. Otherwise, me going to like Harbor Freight or I'll actually, if I'm honest, I'm going to go to the restaurant discount store and find me some stainless steel pots, and I'm going to be like, let's do this.
There you go, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like your setup though because it's got the thermometer gauge and a spigot. That makes it very, very nice because me, I'm old
Well,
school in it with two hot hands, over here trying to pick it up and dump it out into, into something
so
else.
So I'll be honest. The reasons why you like it are not the reasons why I bought it. One, the thermometer, it's an analog thermometer, so
Hmm.
it has to be calibrated quite a bit. Uh, I think what I'd want to eventually get is just a long digital thermometer, and trust that probably more.
Yep.
And then two, the spigot doesn't really mean anything to me, and here's why. I invested in a magnetic drive pump, so I don't. The spigot's just it's pointless. But finding good quality stainless steel pots on Amazon is pretty hard when you
These
can't
are.
touch them. Yeah, so I had to go with one of the higher rated ones. I think my whole setup, again, I've still got a lot to piece together,
Yep.
but I think I'm all in, wart chiller parts included, probably like $300. So
That's not
not,
bad at all, dude.
yeah, not a fortune, man. I'll be all right. I still got to get a few more things, like I said, but I think all in all, I'll come in under $400, and it's going to be a sick ass system.
Heck
It's
yeah, man.
it's same thing for you, like turkey fryer, stainless steel pot,
Hmm.
brew in a bag. Only the main difference is being I'm not doing a mash tun because I'm sticking in that pot.
Yeah.
Um, I've got a pump to help with recirculation, and as well as transfer.
Yep.
I've got 5 gallon buckets for my fermentation and my secondary fermentation. Although I'm a little hesitant on the secondary fermentation because I'm not going to bottle. I'm going to corny kegs, man. I'm going to a Cornelius keg.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah. I
Heck
found
yeah.
so Cornelius kegs. I don't. Are you familiar with Cornelius kegs?
Not pony kegs?
It's a Cornelius keg. It's different, and the reason is
Okay.
it's a cylinder keg, and it's used
Mhm.
primarily for syrup. Soda companies use it.
Oh,
So
okay.
Pepsi does I think Pepsi does the ball lock, and Coke does the pin lock. Whatever. One of them does one of them does the other.
Hmm.
I managed to find a ball lock used one for like $50.
Hmm.
Um, and the thing about these kegs, as versus a regular keg, is instead of like tapping it and filling it through that way, or pulling out the insert and then filling it
Yeah.
that way, this has a quick release canister that's about 3 inches in diameter that opens
Hmm.
right up in the middle, and you just pour it in right there. So it like just opens, fill it with beer, close it, gas it, and you're good to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you
Now,
can
and
it's
can you clean it?
yeah, it cleans pretty easily, all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Same thing.
Just stick some star sand in there and
Yep,
clean it
yep,
out.
yeah. Some single step or whatever, one step.
Hmm.
I'm gonna obviously clean the hell out of it,
Dude,
but I'm gonna dry hop in it because I bought a dry hop, tube that'll fit right down in there. Same, perfect size. Just drop it right down in there. It's
yeah.
got a little chain on it. Yeah,
Nice. Heck yeah,
yeah.
dude. One of these days, what I really want to do is brew, but I'll put it into a barrel. I'd love to put it into like get a used Jack Daniel's barrel or maybe a Buffalo Trace or something like that. Maybe even get stupid and get like a Whistle Pig or something like, just something fancy, little fancy, and be like, all right, cool. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna bring some of this whiskey taste into my beer.
That'd be
That'd
nice, man. Yeah, a
great.
little bit of that char, dude. That's
Hmm.
I'm on board with that. I can do that.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like a dream, but I think I'm gonna get it done. And you know what we'll do is we'll plan a party at that point. Just have everybody come over like old school Viking days, and we're gonna open this freaking barrel, and we're just gonna drink until it's gone.
Uhtred Ragnarsson.
That's gonna be a hillbilly hog roast. That's what that sounds like.
I like
Good
that,
time.
man. Hillbilly hog
Hmm.
roast, man.
Hmm.
Um, so I got this set up, and I'm I've gone back and forth over wart chillers, and I've settled on what I'm gonna do. But what are you doing for a wart chiller?
I mean, so most of the ones that I've seen are like copper pipes, and they'll have one end for a hose, and then a hose on the other end, and then you can hook it up and then just run your water straight through the copper. Which, luckily, copper being so thin and kind of, I want to say insulated in a way, it's going to keep a lot of that colder temperature as the water moves through it, and then I can kind of recycle it to help cool it down.
Yeah, man, dude, I've been all over this. for those of you guys that are just beginning, there are a million YouTube videos, and you'll understand the science of why you do certain things. So I'm going with a homemade wort chiller. I'm putting together. Going to Lowe's or Home Depot, I found refrigerators. Soft copper refrigerator coil,
Mm-hmm.
3/8. Very very easy to you don't need a pipe bender to bend it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you can. So the idea is measure your pot, come in maybe 3 inches on each side.
Yep.
And so find something cylindrical that is that size, and then just wrap it around that. That way you don't need a pipe bender, and it's malleable. So that way there's no kinks in it. It's just easy to do it that way. So that's what I'm going to do. I got to go pick up the rest of the stuff to go do this. But instead of like having a hook come out and putting garden hose attachments on it, I'm just going to do straight food grade vinyl tubing coming off of it. I'm going to put one end in my pump.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just hook your hose up to that.
Yeah. One end in my pump, and then one end in my. Sorry, I should rephrase this. It's not the pump that's being used for my
the magnetic
transfer.
pump.
It's not the magnetic drive. Yeah. It's like a fish tank pump. It's one that goes like $15, $20.
It moves water. It's a pond pump.
Pond pump. Yeah. So what you do is, so the idea of wort chillers is you're gonna burn 30 gallons of water cooling down your beer, pretty much.
Yep.
It's a lot of wasted water. Sucks. It sucks because that's water you're paying for. Damn it.
Yep.
So a lot of people
will do.
Yeah. So a lot of people will do. Well, but if you recirculate it,
you're not taking it down as much as the water's hot.
That's it, and it's taking you longer to cool beer, which is giving you more chances for bacteria, infections, all that stuff. So a lot of people, what they do is they save that water, and that's what they use to clean their stuff up later with, and that's a smart idea. But I watched this one YouTuber, and it was a pretty smart idea. Get a cooler, fill it with ice and water. But then what you do is you put a submersible pump in there. You connect it to your wort chiller. You connect the other end. You connect the other end of your wort chiller, the out. Just dump it right back into your cooler. And what it's going to do is it's going to suck the cold water up, push it out, dump it back in there. And all you got to do is keep adding ice to it. And it's just going to keep it nice and cool, man.
I like that idea.
Apparently, it cools your it'll cool like a 5-gallon, 7.5 gallon in like 20-30 minutes. So it's pretty nice.
Oh, that is nice. Heck yeah, dude.
Giving you a little more.
Yeah, that I can tell you guys, the wort chiller is a very good idea. Otherwise, you are sitting there for an hour or two, trying to dump enough water or ice around it to try and cool this thing down.
Yeah, just to get to 70, 80 degrees. That is crazy. Yeah. It's going to take you like 2 hours to get to 70 to 80 degrees.
It's nuts.
It's nuts, yeah. So that's my plan, is to use that, recirculate, and then use my other pump to transfer to the wort chiller, all that fun stuff, not to the wort chiller, to the fermenter, and then if need be the secondary fermenter, and then straight to the corny keg. And this, we're about to remodel our kitchen here. So the refrigerator that's up there now is coming down in my garage. So I'm just going to move the shelves around and have a nice little spot for my corny keg. And away she goes, man.
Dude, my goal eventually would be to have, I want like 2 or 3 of those conical fermenters, and they have wall attachments. So you can actually mount it right on the wall. And then I can go through and maybe have a wine brewing, a cider brewing, and a beer, or maybe like a sour and a porter. Dude, I got so many different tastes going on at one time. I'm like, I want you. If I can have a couple different, fermenters going at one time, give me a couple different, give me some options, right? Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Makes sense. I can tell you, we don't, at least me, I don't like to drink the same thing over and over again. At least not straight. It might seem like I'm on the same kick, but I do switch it up quite a bit and drink numerous things, like just all kinds of different things.
Yep. Same
Like,
here.
yeah, it's just, whatever.
Just gotta
Well,
have a little bit
saw
of
you, man. You
difference.
got 30 different types of beer today just for this
Dude,
hour and a
dude.
half
So
podcast.
this damn 6-pack cost me $23. I was
Yeah,
like, well, we're doing it. We're
yeah,
doing it.
that's a pricey 6-pack,
It
my
is a
man.
pricey 6-pack, the most expensive 6-pack I have bought. But I can tell you, as of right now, the mail order bride is amazing, and we're going to move on to, I think, the Rumpkin next, and we'll see how that one goes.
Cool, man. Cool. I'm actually, now that I'm talking about this to you, I'm actually rethinking the need for a damn freaking pump. If just because I have all those freaking things, like I could get $80 back. Why not? I don't know. I'll think about it.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty good investment, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know, dude. I mean, I think, I think the circulation pump pushing your wort chiller back through, that's obviously, I think that's a good idea because
Yeah.
you have to move the water from the cooler through it. There's no other way other than getting a pump.
Well, or maybe I just return that submersion pump and just use my magnetic drive pump to recirculate water. Put one end in the water, put the
Temperature.
other end. What's that?
So what you need to look at is the temperature of water that your pump can handle. That's a big thing too, because you don't want to melt any gaskets or seals.
But I'm only pumping cold water.
Oh, duh.
Yeah. So I'd be taking the ice water.
I'm like, yeah.
I'm taking
good
the ice
Lord,
water. Yeah.
This one's at 10.2. I'm getting a little warm already.
Oh man. Dang.
Anyways.
10.2. That's barley wine, my man. That's
Ooh,
crazy.
yes.
Yeah. So I'll do like the one end in the cold, the other end going to the wort chiller, and then the wort chiller directly to the thing. That'll save me $20, and that way I can rationalize keeping my magnetic drive pump just for the hell of it.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way I can transfer if I ever want to.
Oh yeah. There you go. I was looking at all of those different pumps, but obviously for a different reason for my aquaponics setup. And getting doing a lot of research on what pumps can move how much water and what rate they can move water at, how high they can go with the water if you raise it up and take it over.
That's the most important thing is finding a pump that'll push, 7.5 feet in the air, 10 feet in the air up. That's a hard thing when you look at these little pond pumps, trying to make that stuff work.
Yep. It's a lot of research, guys. If you're gonna do any type of pump setup, I would definitely advise researching all of the pumps. Don't just go to Home Depot or Lowe's or Menards, whatever you have by and pick up one. It's like, oh, it's 100 gallons. Let's check to see the lift of it and everything like that and what it'll push.
Well, and at that, like, is 100 gallons per hour enough? Well, it depends on your setup.
Yep.
Yeah, if you've got 2 rows and they're 10 feet long, what are you growing? And, you could easily exceed that.
Oh, yeah. So for me, I was looking at, 3 different grow beds for different veggies and things. And it was like, all right, we got to dump, how much water do I need per grow media at this point? And I need this one, and this one. So I need to make sure not only can it do the lift, but it's also going to provide the appropriate amount of water that I need for this entire area. And then I can do a switch at that point to go ahead and fill up the other one. But at the same time, if it's doing all 3 or what have you, one after the other, you have to add all of that volume into those calculations to make sure it can handle all of that area or volume, whatever it is that you're measuring there.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking about this. Most of those plastic pumps, those little submersible pond pumps or whatever, they don't have ball joints on. They don't have the handle like to control the flow rate. Like, I think if you're going to put one of those in, that's probably like a good idea so you can control the output and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Different times of the day, especially if it's an external one with the greenhouse. Different times of the day, you're probably going to need less water than more water, that sort of thing.
Yep.
I know they make like sprinkler systems with apps. I'm sure somebody's got like an app for your phone that can control your hydroponic pump or something.
Oh yeah, dude. Well, at this point, it's just a timer. You get one of those timers you can plug in. I was
go,
looking
man.
at all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, dude, apps on your phone, that would be legit. Get like a Wi-Fi pumper or pumper. Get a Wi-Fi pumper.
Pumper.
Get a Wi-Fi pump that can, have an app to your phone. Feed my plants now. There we go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think I don't know, man. I I don't know if it's just the home brewing in me or kind of the old chef in me, that kind of stuff. I've always had this this knack for doing something just a little bit creative. I got to make something, you know. Used to joke with my wife, was like, "You can give birth and I can't. I need to create something." Um, so I don't know, but
No, it's
whether
good.
it's growing plants or just making something with my hands, like I build a lot of furniture, I remodel my house, I do whatever I can do,
Yep.
and I have a lot of fun doing it, and I definitely enjoy the final product and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But like lately, just thinking about this homebrew stuff, it's like it's got me. I don't know if I told you this about like pickling veg. Like I'm pickling everything right now. I'm candying lemons. I'm like, we make breads and pastas from scratch, man. Like
Yeah.
we're just on this kick. Um, I I don't know, man. Something fulfilling about it.
Hey, it is, dude. It really is. Growing your own veggies, brewing your own beer. I don't know if I told you, Adrian actually got me a smoker, a Pit Boss smoker for Father's Day. So,
I haven't chatted with you, I don't think, about
yeah,
this. Yeah.
dude. Oh man, she gave me the picture of it, and she's like, "This is what we're going home to. It's gonna be home when we get there." Dude, I am so excited. Like being able to smoke my own. Like I have dedicated smoker right now. This is gonna be amazing. Like I can't wait to just try and smoke. I can't. I'm really very very excited if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, it's
But
definitely a step up over the side box you got, man. I mean, the
yeah,
side box is
dude.
nice, but
It's nice, but
yeah.
what I found out is every time I lift the dang lid to replace some charcoal or some wood chunks, I'm losing heat, man. And my smoke was going to be an 8-hour smoke, but now it's went to a 12-hour smoke because I've had to do it so many dang times.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get you completely. Creating something that's yours, that in my mind that brings happiness or pleasure to other people, right? That is
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
If I can lay out this huge roast and you guys take a piece out of it, and you're like, this is like the best damn thing I've ever had. That goes in. That's like, yes, win.
Yeah, that I concur with that feeling wholeheartedly. And the reason is, um, dude, I'm a freaking like I'm gonna say it. I'm a guy. I'm a garbage disposal. It doesn't matter if the beer's shit. It doesn't matter if the food isn't 5 star or whatever. If I made it, I wasted money on it. I'm still gonna eat it at the end of the day. I'm still gonna drink it at the end of the day.
Yep.
But when somebody else is like, "Damn, that shit was amazing," that's a very yeah. Or and not even this is the best I've ever had or anything, but like, wow, that's really good. I really
Yep.
enjoy that. Like that's just a hell yeah, I'm gonna start making this guy. This person appreciates this. I'm gonna make them some more stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, dude. It was last week actually. It was what was it? Trying to see what party it was. I don't even know if we had a reason to party, but we ended up getting ready to go over to my sister's house. And before that, my mom had said, "Hey, I got a couple briskets that have been in my freezer for a year." She's like, "Do you want to smoke them?" Yes, I do. I definitely do. She has a propane and electric smoker out there. So I started researching different ways to smoke brisket, different recipes, and what I finally came up with, and something that I really thought I'd like, and I absolutely loved it, I'm not going to lie. I found some Hungarian paprika.
Yeah.
Hungarian
Smoked
smoked
paprika.
paprika. Yeah, dude, some smoked paprika, some little bit of brown sugar, and some lime cayenne pepper with some salt and pepper and a little bit of garlic, of course. Um, Dude, amazing. So I took them over there and had a bunch of people, try it. It's awesome. This is just great. Like that flavor. I was like, dude, it felt so good, right? To be able to take that to a party and people are going back in for like seconds and thirds and fourths, and like people are like, hey, can I take some of that home? Like that feels amazing, right? It's
Yeah.
awesome. It's awesome. It really is. And I get you completely there. And that's what I think a lot of people get into, home brewing, get into smoking, get into cooking, baking, what have you. They get into it. I don't want to say for that, but that is something that
Yeah.
does breed it. It does build that kind of passion for it, right?
You know what's like the greatest thing about all this is it seems so intimidating to do this stuff. It seems so intimidating to make something from scratch. But like once you do it, even if you mess up, once you do it, you're like, that wasn't
This
that
is so
bad.
bad.
Like, yeah, like, dude, like I make gnocchi all the time from scratch. I make mozzarella from scratch all the time. I make my own pasta sheets. I make my own, for lasagna, all
Mhm.
that stuff. Like my wife's upstairs making bread as we speak. Like,
Yeah.
dude, it takes like an hour out of your day of actual prep, and then everything else is, take 5 minutes here, go check on it. Take 5 minutes there, go check
Hmm.
on it. Easiest thing you'll ever do,
Yep.
but very rewarding. Very rewarding. Um, the beer thing though, that is a little daunting though because it's so technical. There's so much science in beer making that kind of gets taken for granted.
Oh, I agree. I
Yeah.
definitely agree. There's a lot that can go into it, and you could make it as hard as you want to. That's the beautiful thing about brewing beer.
Yeah.
You can make it as difficult as you want to or as easy as you want to.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on the easy route there, but so I think
Hmm.
I've settled on my first beer. I'm gonna do the probably a 60-minute IPA. That's probably the route I'm gonna go.
This is cool. I don't think you can see it, but this beer, one of the things I really love about watching beers after you pour it is if you see the carbonation. Like I love that cascade of a beer when it goes up, all the bubbles come up down from the bottom, and then it cascades down into itself. But I opened the Rumpkin here. It's the ale brewed with pumpkin and spices aged in rum barrels.
Oh
They've
yeah.
actually got the chunks of pumpkin in the beer. That's exciting. Yuck. Are you kidding me? This pumpkin pie with
You
alcoholic pumpkin pie. It's an adult pumpkin pie at this point.
you
Drinkable.
you lost me at pumpkin and beer, man.
Mhm.
That's it's a big no-no. I know
Oh,
that was a big thing a few years ago. I created like three different memes because I could not take it, man. Like
oh, this is good. That's good.
pumpkin and beer and cinnamon and whiskey. They're just it doesn't work for
Oh,
me.
oh yeah.
It doesn't work.
If I'm a fat boy, bro, if I can drink my dessert, I am down. You give me a pumpkin pie, put a little bit of Cool Whip on the top of it, or some Cocoa Whip, some
Cocoa
Cool
Whip.
Whip, Cool Whip.
Can I get
Anybody who
some
watches Family Guy
candied
gets that.
yams in my beer? What the hell, man?
A
Call this
little
one
bit of
Thanksgiving
Thanksgiving in my
dinner.
beer.
Love that we were both there. Love it.
Oh, that's
No, I
awesome.
mean, to each their own. I'm not going to knock it.
Hmm.
I may even try a sip every now and then, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
spend money on it. It's not for me. I used to do. I mean, we talked about this in the last podcast. I used to be a big fan of double chocolate stouts, oatmeal stouts, and stuff like that. I used to drink like I think there was this like beer called Young and Sons or something like that, and I used to just buy those all the time and just
Yeah.
drink them, man. Whoa. I've had my share of bad beers, of heavy beer. I've had just about every kind of beer.
Oh yeah.
Um, Trappist breweries were they stuck with me for a few years. Um, yeah, I think the longest one though for me is probably IPAs. It's the bandwagon that I just can't get off. It's destroyed my taste buds.
Okay. Yeah. Destroyed your taste buds, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
That sucks. That
yeah.
sucks.
I can't drink anything else. It's not the same.
Yeah, it's funny. I was walking through that store earlier, and I'm like, what do I want? What do I want? And then I see a West Coast IPA, And instantly, I'm not gonna lie, I went to judge mode when I'm like, is this really gonna be a damn West Coast IPA because it's brewed in the Midwest? I feel like just because you're
Midwest Coast
following a
IPA.
recipe, I feel like you're
Yeah.
following a recipe and you can call this a West Coast, doesn't mean it's a West Coast IPA.
Oh, I see a lot of like East Coast IPAs and all of a sudden I'm like, what? Like,
What
first of
makes the
all,
difference there?
you're-
Are the hops grown on? Are the hops grown there? What's going on?
no, they're definitely not. But
No.
first of all, you're brewed in Oklahoma. You're claiming you're an East Coast IPA, and IPAs, sorry, East Coasters, taste better from the West Coast.
They do. I'm not gonna lie about that. That's hands down.
Yeah.
Anybody's gotta. Yeah, the West Coast, man, they have the hops.
And the exception is Brewdog, and that's because they're on the west coast of the UK. They're not, but I'm trying to make up some reason.
They're
Oh,
on the
man.
west coast of the East Coast.
They're on the
West side.
west coast of Europe. Duh. No, they're. Yeah. Oh man. Well, they do have the west coast climate though. That's the thing. So the UK has that west coast climate. So that might be it. I don't know. Stick with it.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. I mean,
You know, it's made
I think
Ohio.
I think that climate, though, honestly, is has a lot to do with it.
It
That
does,
warm
except for it's brewed in Ohio, so I don't think that helps. It was just the idea was just born in Scotland, but it's brewed in Ohio.
Oh, okay. Where are the hops grown?
You know, I haven't looked at what hops they're using.
You know
It's
what's
probably-
crazy? You know what's crazy though? So I was just thinking about this. I was looking a little bit into it before we started our podcast, because the Trappist actually got me thinking when I was looking at it. You know, the Trappist talks about the different flavors that you can feel with or taste with the beer itself, and that some of them are salty depending on the water that it's brewed in. Dude, so it's not until, I grew up in the Midwest and I moved out to the West Coast recently, and as I've recently come back to Indiana to visit some family, I realized out on the West Coast I do not have a water softener in my house. Like you do not have a water softener. Like I don't need salt for my water. I come to Indiana, I need salt for my water. There is so much iron in my water. If I do not use a water softener, my insides will be orange. Like, I mean, my tub is dang near orange with iron. And I'm like, all right. You think about that and all of that goes into the brewing of the beer and the water quality that's different in where it was brewed. I mean, like you think about something being brewed in Oregon versus something being brewed in Ohio. Yeah. If I can get aquifer water, mountain aquifer water over something that's being conditioned, that's a different taste altogether. You could brew the exact same beer, but that's going to be a different taste.
It's all technically conditioned in some way. Well, I don't know. You're close. You're sandy. You're closer to the mountain. But so I lived about 5 minutes south of the city of Portland, and we had no water softener either. But we were on the same water supply as Portland, and it all came from the snow mountain, Mount Hood. Like that's how we got our water. It's refreshing. Like it's good water. If you go up to like Lake Trillium and you just see how clear that water is, man, it's just
nuts.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It's amazing.
Crater Lake, man. Crater Lake is what? Well, Little Crater Lake is 45 feet deep, and you stand there at the edge of it, and you can see all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah,
45 feet deep, and you can see every little thing.
Where's Little Crater Lake?
So Little Crater Lake is actually up on Mount Hood, over by Timothy Lake.
I have never seen. Man, damn it! Next time I'm out there, I'm gonna go to Little Crater Lake.
It's pretty neat, man. It's a cool little thing to see.
All right, I went down to the real Crater Lake, and that is just breathtaking, beautiful. It's so amazing. It's all glacier water, raining glacier water. A glacier filled in. That's how it the volcano filled in, all that fun stuff. And actually, the volcano is still active. It's forming Wizard Island right now, as you know.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you knew that. Like, there's a little island that's sprouted up. It's called Wizard Island, and it's from volcanic cinder.
No, I haven't been to the big Crater Lake yet. I haven't been to Bend. I've been really wanting to go to
What
Bend.
the
I haven't
heck,
been there
man?
yet. Dude, I know, right? I
You
love
drove
beer.
to
Why would I
Indiana,
not go to
man.
Bend? Oregon?
Drive 3
I've
hours and go to freaking Bend, damn it.
Dude, it's not even 3 hours. It's like an hour away from my house. I could drive an hour and be in Bend, but
No,
I have not been
that's
there. But I
further.
will drive 36. No, it's like an hour. I think maybe it might be maybe
No, it's
two.
probably like two. Yeah, because I was just thinking Madras. Once you're in Madras area, it's a lot shorter, and you're not too far from there, I think.
No, I
Uh,
don't
yeah.
either.
Yeah, I mean, again, the water in Oregon is pretty nice. Here, I've got a water softener. I'm with you. In fact,
Yep.
I saw it and I'm like, I think that's a water softener. I've never seen one before, but I think that's a water softener. Um,
Yep.
yeah, just it is what it is, man.
It
It's
is. It is two
kind of
and a half
sucks.
hours. So you're right. 2.5 hours from Sandy to Bend.
All right, but that's not bad. You drive
That's
like 3.5 hours to Seattle like twice a week, so
Yeah,
or
that's
twice a month. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
true. That
yeah.
is true. I'm not even say anything about that right now. Let's
Oh
just
man.
move on. Let's go.
Here, buddy. Yeah.
Cheers, man. Cheers.
Um, damn,
Feel
like that sea salt is really coming through in this.
Dude, I'm not sure I like this Rumpkin now. I was trying really hard to like this. I was trying really hard to like it. It's a $4 bottle of beer. It's one of those where you're like, I'm gonna try really hard to enjoy this.
Yeah.
I mean, I was all for it in the beginning, but it's a little too much on the it's
The gross side.
well, it's not enough of the pumpkin for me. It's more of like the fake spice. I'm like,
Oh, that's horrible, man.
yeah, that's the part
Fake
that
spice.
kills it
Ooh.
for me. It's like, oh,
You know
if
what
you did
that?
more cinnamon in it, I feel like I'd be cool with the cinnamon and pumpkin, but I'm not sure what else that is.
Probably some cloves or something, some anise. But a lot of times they do synthetic esters, like fake seasonings, fake chemicals to mimic the taste of spices,
Yeah.
artificial flavoring to make it seem like it without the cost of it and being able to introduce it, throughout, like so it's more rounder in that flavor. And the biggest example of this, have you ever had like powdered apple cider, like the packets that you mix with hot water?
No. No.
They are the most disgusting drink, a hot, just add water drink I think you can get.
Okay.
It is so gross. The fake apple flavor, the fake.
Oh, the apple cider stuff
Yeah,
you're talking
yeah.
about.
Yeah,
Yes. I'm like fake applesauce. No, bro.
No,
apple
apple
cider.
cider.
Yes.
Apple cider. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, that's kind of what this tastes like. It's kind
Oh,
of
I can't
yes.
do it,
It's
man.
kind of what this tastes like. Yep.
Yeah, that
Those are hard.
fake apple, that fake chemical, like cinnamon and like it tastes like it came from
Yes.
syrup. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I can't do
It
it.
tastes like it's an apple pie that's from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Like it just appears in front of you. You know.
Can't do it, man. Can't do it. Not for me.
Yeah, I'm trying. I will continue working my way through this because I'm dedicated. But
Like I said, man, once a guy spends money on something, whether he makes himself or buys it, if there's money that went into it, they're gonna finish it. It's just the way it is.
it's going down. Yeah.
The only time, I mean, very few do I end up having to throw some stuff away because it's either one, it's inedible, it'll make me sick, obviously, but just flavor wise, like having to like dump something. This happened to me with, what is it? It's like, I think it was like a
dehydrate. There's a tips and trick right there.
Yeah.
Dehydrate while you dehydrate.
I think it was called Jack Daniel's beer or something. Does this ring a bell?
No, the Jack Daniel's punches do. I've never had the beer.
I think it was Jack Daniel's beer, and it was like a cinnamon or something like that. It was so gross, man. It was like one sip, and then I dumped out the whole 6-pack. I couldn't find anybody to give it to.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
That sucks when you can't even find somebody to give beer to. That's hurtful.
Yeah, let's see. Is it Jack Daniel's beer? Maybe it wasn't Jack Daniels. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't Jack Daniels. I'm just giving them a bad name. It was. Cerebus is this company that owns Albertsons. I don't know if you know this. They're like a giant um, like wealth management company. What's the word I'm looking for? Damn. Capital.
Or like a portfolio manager kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that. Like think of like Bain, like what they are. I'm blanking on the term. I haven't even had enough beer to blank on the term. Damn it, this sucks. Anyways, they own Albertsons, like a majority stock in Albertsons. But they bought Safeway. This was while I lived in Oregon, so this was a few years ago, like 5-6 years ago. They bought Safeway. For those of you that don't know, Safeway, it's a big Northwest chain. So they were closing like some stores, like if the rent was too high and it was too close to like a competing Safeway, or if it was Albertsons and it was too close to competing if it was Albertsons competing Safeway and vice versa, Safeway to Albertsons, they would just say, all right, well, let's just cut our losses and drive everybody to the other store.
Yeah.
And so anyways, this one store was going out of business. The rent was too high. It was after the acquisition, so they were just like, well, let's get rid of it. That Safeway had pretty much like a going out of business sale. Like everything was like 20 cents. Like it was just insane. I bought this beer, that disgusting beer that I was just talking about, like a 6-pack of it for like $2. And I tell you this, it was $2 too expensive, man.
Yeah.
They should have given me $5 to bring it home. But that said, it was the only beer that they had left at the whole store, and that should have been my first guess. Like nobody was willing to buy this for $2.
Yeah.
But all the other beer is gone, so
Yeah.
there's something to this.
That's awesome. Nobody else wants it. You might not either.
Yeah, it was a bad, like, I thought I was like making a killing when I got there. Like I bought like $30, and $30 when everything is like $1 was pretty nice, but about like $30 worth of like freezer food, like like pre-made Asian food and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, this would be good. Yeah, I'll get it. We got it home, and it's all like, oh, there's a reason why this still was left, and it's 49 cents. That's so gross. Throw it away, like throw away all this food, man. Just throw it all away. It just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Bad experience.
Yeah, that happens. Oh man, actually, I was gonna say, speaking of AU, I ended up submitting two submissions for it. Yeah.
I'm excited to see if one, if they both get accepted, or two, if one, which one got accepted and why.
Yep. I'm gonna be curious to see. I mean, I'm hoping obviously that at least one of them gets accepted.
Yeah.
But we'll see. If not, I'm gonna attend either way, obviously, to go through some classes and see what I can learn.
Did you look through the other titles? Like there's a website you can go to vote on, and you can look at other titles people have for their topics, like all their topics and their like little abstract. You didn't look at all that?
No, I should have.
Yeah, so once you submit it, it goes there.
Should have.
Yeah, once you submit it goes there for other people to vote on.
Where's that at?
I'll send you the link, man.
Send me the link. I'd like to look at that and see. Yeah. That'd be good knowledge. I don't know, man. I don't know. I've been thinking about transitioning. Well, we talked about it, transitioning into design into construction, but also figuring out how we can tie more of the engineering of the design into construction, getting people involved with constructability earlier, and just different things like that. It's all cool stuff and kind of part of the process of how we can help improve what we're doing. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think either way, as we all know, AU, the different conferences, they can be a great way to, I don't know, pick up some things that you may not have known, right? Just little tidbits here and there. Maybe if you know everything, well, I don't want to say everything, but you know mostly.
Oh, I know everything, damn it.
You do know everything. Everything. You can pick up a few tidbits here, and generally those tidbits are worth quite a bit. You know what I mean?
You know what I found over the past few conferences that I've been to? What's more valuable to me than the tidbits? Because the tidbits are great. It's just finding time to to implement them and remembering to implement them at the right time. You always remembered after, damn, I should have done what they saw at AU or built or whatever. I should have done that. Like I always think about that afterwards. But the number one thing, like the biggest takeaway for me, outside of like networking, I guess.
I was gonna say networking.
Yeah, outside of networking. Networking is awesome. Especially the last day of AU, man. The big party. Like made a lot of friends. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna miss that. Good Lord.
But the biggest thing for me is riding the wave of excitement. So when somebody comes in, they do their presentation, and it's got all these, like you're seeing the stuff they're doing. You're like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that's the idea behind BIM. That's the idea behind this
like
communication, collaboration. Yeah, like the keynote or something. Like you're seeing that, and you're like, this is the way it's supposed to work. We know this works. We know this does it. We get maybe like one project like that every 3 years where we could do this on. But at the same time, like, you ride off that wave of excitement. Like he did it. It works. I saw it. Like, he gave the presentation, and then you go back and you're like, I don't care if this isn't the right project. I want to try this on this project. Like, there's some excitement to it, man. And there is. I don't know. It's contagious, I guess.
It is contagious. That excitement is contagious. I think any keynote I go through when I'm at the Blue Beam conference or Autodesk conference.
That's canceled, by the way. XCon got canceled.
It did. I was like, all right, that sucks. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm actually pretty happy that AU is doing a digital conference this year. So that's pretty exciting.
Do you pay attention to digital conferences?
Some, yes, I do. If it, like, I'll be honest, I will monitor the sessions of going on, and I'll kind of read through the different descriptions and see what entices me. And in that sense, yeah, then maybe I'll go and watch it. Now, in saying that, will I watch the entire thing? Probably not. If I'm doing, it's hard. If you're at a digital conference, you're still expected to do everything else that you're doing. You know what I mean? I still have emails coming in. I still have people to talk to. I still have workflows that I want to go through. I'm most likely going to put it up on a second monitor and just be like, look over every once in a while. Oh, that was a good point.
So that's the nature of us. If you're in front of a computer, chances are you have ADD and you want to multitask.
Yep.
I'll stream it. So I'll have it up on my computer, and then I'll stream it to my next monitor, which is a TV on my wall. And I'll just stream it to that one. And then that way I still have my regular computer. So I've got Excel here and our CRM and, Outlook and all that fun stuff. And I'm getting through some stuff, but I'm half paying attention. But here's the difference. I'm only half paying attention.
Yep.
If I'm at a conference, our group, as you know, sits together.
Mm-hmm.
We all sit together. Our managers sit next to us. Their bosses sit next to us. Like,
oh, and you're paying attention at that point.
You're paying attention. Nobody's playing on their phone.
No.
If we're at AU and your company shelled out endless sums of money for everybody to go, and you've got senior VP and the president of your company, all that stuff, and he's sitting next to you, and you notice he's taking notes, and you want to look good for him. You're like, I'm gonna engage. I've got this.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a little bit different. And that said, I'm a fan of digital conferences. Part of me feels like there's a lot of them going on at this time. Yeah. And the other part of me is like, there's not a lot of the ones I want to attend going on at this time.
Yeah. It's kind of hard. I'd say filtering what you want, right? In that sense, because there are a lot of digital conferences going on, and there are so many things I want to learn. Oh, dude, I'm like, the Festival of BIM Digital Construction. Oh, that's going on. Let's see what I can figure out there.
Dude, do you know how many sessions there are? We're session number 35.
There's 35.
Yeah, there's so many sessions.
What? This is a multi-day conference?
Multi-week, multi-month conference.
I was going to say multi-week.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think I signed up for all sessions, and I get a notification, but it's in like UK time. I'm like, just send me the Eastern US time, the time zone I'm in, so I don't have to go to Google and figure out when it's on, because I really wanted to watch this session. Then find out it started an hour ago.
Convert time, the effort kind of goes down from there.
The effort to interest is like, the more effort, the less interested I am. It's kind of like working out. Like, that that one looks hard. Yeah, I don't want to go to the
Yep.
gym today.
Now we're gonna do that one. No.
It's leg day. I'm gonna stay home.
Are you doing decline bench? What's wrong with the flat bench?
It's the same distance. You just have more gravity.
Mm,
No.
that's
No, it's
hard.
not the same distance, but anyway, I mean, it is because you're only extending the same. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
Topic. But yeah, the whole AU thing, it's going to be interesting. Autodesk does digital conferences really well. As you know, you're doing OTX this week with me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you guys that don't know what OTX is, it's one team extreme.
Experience.
Experience? I think it's extreme.
Is it extreme? I thought it was one team experience or one team conference.
Well,
There's the
OTC
one team
was
conference,
yeah,
OTC,
and then
OTX.
OTX. I thought was one team extreme. Maybe one team experience. I don't know, man. It's Autodesk acronyms. Hold on, let's see it. One team. Bum 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 bum. Autodesk. Helps if you put that in there. I don't know. I don't. Oh, one team extension.
Oh, extension. That's what it is. We
because it's
both
an
missed it.
Yeah, we're way off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, worms.
We're not worthy. So for those of you guys that don't know, Autodesk hosts a conference where we usually all fly to Denver. We spend a few days at the hub. I think it's usually 2 or 3 days long. Everybody stays at the Hyatt Regency there, and we have our own mini AU session. It's full of trainings. It's full of sales talks. It's full of a lot of great stuff, and it's a great ecosystem for Autodesk. That said, this is the first year. It's going to be all 100% remote, again, due to COVID. So I think it's like 4 sessions or something I'm in or something like that. It's not a big, it's not as intensive as OTX normally is, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, that should be interesting. I'm over here debating on whether I really want to finish this Rumpkin or if I want to move on to the Chimay or the Dirty Little Freak. I'm like, man, is this? We really gonna finish this? We're gonna do it, dude.
I think that Chimay is gonna be a shock to your palate after drinking that.
Yeah, you're right. It's gonna be and that's funny.
It's
that's
the
funny
silky,
thing. The 6-pack I've got is not really lending to each other's flavors or profiles. I got one that's all over the place where my palate's gonna be like, dude, what the fuck is this? What is that? What is that?
Yeah, waking you up. I think you should do a shot of whiskey in between every one of your things. It's like sushi, man. You gotta have a little pickled ginger or something.
There you go, dude.
Shot taste.
I'll throw some tequila back.
There you go. I just gotta wash my mouth out.
Here we go.
It's got to be Tito's, though, right?
Tito's.
Or that's vodka. Sorry.
Vodka, yeah, vodka. Or I like Don Julio, the Reposado vodka or tequila vodka. Reposado. Wow, Reposado tequila.
I think you were talking about that one on the last podcast. You're a big fan,
dude. I like it. That 1942. I mean, I can't yet afford the big bottle, but one day it will happen.
Well, you could. Just one of your kids doesn't get new clothes or new shoes that week.
Yeah, I could, but I'm going to hear a lot from my wife after I buy it. That's for sure.
You spent what?
You spent what? Oh, it was only like $160 on sale.
Hey, you don't understand. This bottle is normally $185. I saved quite a bit of money.
I saved quite a bit of money by getting this bottle.
Yeah.
And I want to put it in a decanter and let it sit. And 1 week later, did you let it sit? No, it was so good. I just had to drink it.
It didn't need to be decanted. It's fine.
It's fine. It was good.
The bottle itself is kind of a decanter.
Yeah. There you go. It's got it itself. There you go.
Yeah. Same thing like my wife. Well, honey, I really wanted this one. And I was going to buy it eventually. And it was on sale. So by buying it, I actually saved money. I think that's the way it works. You know how you could have saved money? By actually saving money.
by saving money or switching your car insurance to Geico.
I
That's what I.
actually don't. I had Geico, and Allstate came in when I moved here. Dude, so I don't know if I told you this story. It's really crazy. Do you know what a Sheetz gas station is? It's the local gas stations here in uh, Pennsylvania, Ohio, whatever. They're like gas stations like none other. They're so freaking awesome. They're the greatest gas stations. Anyways, I went in there one day. I think we hadn't closed on our house yet, and I think we were about 2 weeks away from closing. We were living in hotels, and we were just frequenting the Sheetz gas station that was right next door to our hotel for late night snacks and whatnot. And they sold beer, so I was always there.
Yeah.
And they have got a good beer selection, believe it or not. But anyways, so I go in there and I'm checking out, and the guy looks at my ID and he's like, Oregon, and I'm like, yeah, I just moved here, and I gave him the spiel, like the 30-second version, and he goes, well, so you're buying a house, right? And I said, yeah, and he goes, all right, cool. Well, and he pulls a card out of his pocket. He goes, I'm an Allstate sales rep by day. I just do this, get some extra money, put my kids through, put my daughter through college. And I was like, well, that's cool, man. So you only work at night. You're not like, this doesn't like, you're my Allstate rep. I can call you during the day. You're going to be at work. He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, man, I'll let you quote me, I guess. And then he comes in and like decimates freaking Geico. Half the price of Geico's quote, man.
Yeah.
I had been with Geico for like 4 years.
I've actually never been with Geico. I go through Progressive.
Oh, there you go, man.
Yeah.
Good old Flo.
Yeah. Good old Flo. I like Flo.
I like Jim. Is it Jimmy? The redheaded guy more than Flo.
Oh, yeah.
His
I
commercials
like
are
the General. I like the General with Shaq most of
yeah.
the time.
Yeah. Oh, and then he got my car insurance too. I was like, well, can you beat my car insurance price? Because I got a bundle through Geico and might actually throw out my car insurance price. And he goes, oh, yeah, no problem. And then he beat that too. I was like, shit, like, what the hell, man? Like, is this like a one-time deal? And he's like, no, this is it, man. I was like, peace out, Geico.
Yep, peace up, 8 down.
Yep. But I've never had Progressive, though. I don't think so.
I've had Progressive for a little while. I
No
left
AARP
Progressive
in
for a
there?
little bit with the USAA. No, I'm
USAA,
with
that's what
USAA.
Yeah, that's right.
USAA there for a little while, and then I was like, I'm gonna switch back to Progressive just because I mean USAA is great, but if I'm honest, like when we moved out here, it was nice to get somebody local. Like if you have a local insurance agent to go talk to, it's nice.
Calling Texas.
Yeah, instead of calling Texas and then they got to call somebody out and have them come look at it and different things like that. It's cool, but it's a process and it takes time. If you're talking to a local adjuster, a lot of times they're already there. Like they're right in town. You can call them, talk to them, stop by and say, hey, what's going on? And hey, can you come look at this? And you can build a relationship with them. Whereas if somebody's in Texas, it's a little bit harder to. And then they're going to make all the connections for you, right? They're going to call all of your adjusters and everything in the repair shop and everything that you can go to in that area that they'll support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how was the military discount? Was it worth it? Was it nice or?
Yeah, but honestly, Progressive beat their price, so that was an interesting one. Yeah, USAA. Well, I will tell you, their customer service, everything, hands down, awesome. Very awesome people, awesome service for banking, for insurance. Great company. It's just at some point, I don't know, dude. I mean. That's a hard one for me because it's like loyalty, right? Yeah. If you have loyalty to a group, but it's a little bit harder when you're looking at the dollar amount. You know what I mean? And it's like, right, I've been with these guys for 5 years. I can keep going. But if I can save $60 to $100 a month by switching to this group.
That's a no-brainer to me, man. $100 a month, that's $100. $100 more in my pocket, yeah.
Thank you very much, but I'm going to move over here for a little bit and see what they do. And if theirs is shit, okay, cool, I understand. I'm going to move back, But
you know what the better part of all that was, what you said at the beginning. Yeah, saving $100. I'm thinking about it and I'm like, yeah, $100 is great. But, if I could, if it only cost me say $40 more or $20 more, I would probably choose whoever puts that money back in my community.
Yep.
That's probably the bigger thing. Yeah, it's like if they're going to use a local auto body shop, a non-big chain, if they're going to, all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
it makes
Yeah.
you feel that
That makes
sense of community.
It does. It does. It really gives you that you're supporting the local business at that point, and it gives you that well, as you're saying, that sense of community. It really does. Whew. I
What are
do
you
not
drinking?
like this. I don't like that rumpkin.
Oh, are you
I'm
still
almost,
drinking it?
oh, dude, yeah, oh yeah, I'm almost done with it. At this point, it is
All
now
right, man.
resembling, but woo.
Let's chug them. Let's do this.
Oh yeah, is that what we're doing? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, it's bad. It's gone.
All right, now you can move on.
I can move on. Woo! All right, we're good.
Need some vodka or pickled ginger now?
Yes, actually. You'd give me like a green olive with some like garlic and jalapeno in it. Yeah, I'm down.
Dude, you are a Bloody Mary fan, as I know this, uh, as much as I am. And
It's in my blood.
that's what actually got me on the pickling bandwagon is I wanted to pickle my own vegetables to make some damn Bloody Marys. That was it. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Hey,
was
dude,
like
that's
the
awesome.
height of it was like the height of COVID, and there was like no pickled asparagus, no pickled anything to be found. And I'm like, damn, I need some pickled vegetables for my Bloody Marys, and they were virgin Bloody Marys because the alcohol stores were closed. But I still love the flavor. Damn it, it's sterile, and I like the taste.
Sterile, and I like the taste.
Oh man, but yeah, that's what
Actually,
started it.
Bloody Marys saved my weekend. I had we had planned to go camping. We planned to go camping down in Buffalo, Indiana, and we were planning on floating the Tippecanoe River. Awesome, right? Awesome weekend plan. Well, we had went and I prepared at Costco. So Costco, if you guys don't know, has pre-mixed margarita containers, and they have like the original and then strawberry flavor. So I am all about margaritas when it's hot. And I went and bought like 4 containers, and I was like, this is going to be a great weekend. Well, during all the hustle and bustle of packing for the camping trip, yours truly forgot to pack the margarita mixes into everything that went camping with us. And
Nice.
we get down there, yeah, and I realized I had no margaritas. So Dave was not a very happy camper. Dave was quite upset. And I went to the local liquor store, and I'm like, man, what can I get here? I found some Moscato d'Asti and made some Moscato made some mimosas for the ladies on the camping trip. And oh, dude, they had some Tito's vodka and a local kind of, it wasn't an organic, but it was a local margarita mix, or I'm sorry, a local Bloody Mary mix. And the first thing that I look for in a Bloody Mary mix is I'm going to turn that thing upside down and see what's on the bottom of it. If I can shake it, if I look on the bottom of it and there's a bunch of stuff and some sediment in there and I shake it and it changes a whole different color, I'm about it. I'm going to try it. The more sediment to me, the better, right?
Yeah, the more spice, man. I love it.
Yes. And I'm like, all right, so let's try these out. I tell you what, I had some garlic. I bought some of the Costco olives before we went. Luckily, those made it on the trip. If they didn't, I would have been a little upset. But I took some of those. They were garlic and jalapeno stuffed olives, and then I threw those in there with some salt and pepper. And then we had to make breakfast, so I cooked some bacon and threw some bacon in there with it.
It's my kind of Bloody Mary, man.
Bloody Marys were awesome, on point. Yes.
If I can get a meal inside of my Bloody Mary, I'm done.
Yes.
Man. Yeah. I don't need to eat. It's brunch in a glass, damn it.
Yes, it is. That's a meal in a glass right there. I'm like, man, that's 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah. And when I was like, I'm not gonna say how old I was when I was drinking, and probably shouldn't have been. My friend's dad would always let us come over there and drink, and we'd party and have fun and throw keggers and all stupid stuff. And we all, I mean, we were piss poor kids. We would drink Keystone Light, obviously dirty 30s and whatnot.
Yeah.
His thing was, somebody would say, "Oh man, I'm hungry. I need to go to Taco Bell or something like that." I'm too drunk to drive. Hey, who here can drive me to, Taco Bell or whatever? Somebody. This was a frequent occurrence, and he would just chime up and say, "Shut up! What do you need to eat for? You got pork chop in a can right here." Like, damn. Growing up in Texas, my man.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I saw a PBR the other day with it was a coffee. What was it? Coffee like cold brew PBR.
What?
I had to stand back like, wait a minute, what?
Damn hipsters.
Okay.
I do like cold brew though, so I don't know, man.
I would try it. I
have a cold brew set up. I just never, whenever I'm, in coffee mode, I never think about like, oh, let's take 10 minutes and, set this up so tomorrow I can have some cold brew. I just never think about it.
Fuck that, dude. My cold brew is coffee that doesn't get drank and gets put back into the fridge. That is cold brew at that point.
No, that's iced coffee or cold coffee.
That is iced coffee. That's true.
There's a difference. Cold brew is non-heating. You know the difference between cold brew and ice brew or regular coffee, right? Like the difference.
Yeah. There's no heat involved in the process of it.
Do you know why though?
Water.
But do you know why? Do you know why there's no heat?
So I don't exactly know why. I just know it's the bitterness and the acidity with the coffee.
Well, that's exactly why. I don't know why, but here's the exact reason. That's it. It's the bitterness and the acidity. Yeah, it's you're not getting the acidity or the bitterness from inside the bean. That's it. That's what it is.
Right. Well, yeah. I guess I know that.
Yeah. So usually use ice and use that to help. I don't know what the purpose of the ice is, but one year, I don't know if it's Father's Day or birthday or something, my wife got me this nice little cold brew container, and it's got like this insert down in the middle. You fill it up with ice and you put the coffee in the middle, and eventually it all melts and you got cold brew, man. That's kind of the whole thing. You pull it out and you're good.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah. There you go.
Sorry, my phone's going off.
No, you're all good, dude. You're all good.
The wife, she's like literally like right, diagonally 10 feet.
Hey, what are you doing?
Are you guys almost done yet? It's been an hour and a half.
Damn it.
9:45. Gosh.
She can hear you talking shit.
No, luckily she can't. Actually,
yeah, right.
So my anniversary is Saturday, my 10-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations, man.
Yeah, and we seems like we've just been downsizing our plans for like the past year, and it kind of sucks because of COVID. But originally the plan was this is the year we were going to do a Spain-Portugal trip. We were going to drop the kids off with the in-laws, and we were going to take off to go to Spain, Portugal. Mm-hmm. Well, that kind of, fell by the wayside when we were like, all right, well, let's buy a house now and all that stuff. And that didn't, you bought a house, you start doing projects, and you're like, all right, we're not going to Spain, Portugal next year because you want a new deck and a new kitchen, damn it. But no, it's fine. But so we planned this trip. My wife's family's in upstate New York. We were going to drop the kids off with them, and then we were going to take a weekend, and we were going to go to Niagara Falls and just spend the day, 2 days, just two of us hanging out in Niagara Falls and casinos and parks and doing all the touristy stuff. COVID hits, and now we've condensed that even further to where we're driving to downtown Pittsburgh. We're going to go eat at a restaurant, go to a bakery so she can get all the goodies because she's pregnant. She's craving and she loves sugar. And then all 4'11" of her, 100 pounds, she can eat her weight in sugar. But we're also, looking at activities to do, and we're like, well, I think this is open. And then you're looking it up. It's like, oh, it's not open. Damn it. Well, I think we can go do this. Oh, they're not accepting reservations. Can't do this. It's like, Crap, well, what are we gonna do? So I think we're limited now. We're gonna either do an escape room, or we're gonna do kayaking on the river. So we'll see what
Dude, those both sound like amazing options.
they do, but not 10-year options. Not 10 years of marriage options.
I
feel
mean,
like
it depends, I
Well,
guess.
because we used to do escape rooms all the time, just as
Oh,
date
I
night.
love escape
They're
rooms.
so
Yeah.
fun. And then
But a kayak.
we've gone
So,
kayaking on an anniversary, though.
dude, well, in that sense, you could build off of it, though. A kayak down a river can become more than just a kayak down the river, right? Like you can take anything that you want with you. I mean, I'm going to say, obviously, you want to try to keep it waterproof, but hiking down the river can turn into, I would think, time alone. That can turn into, different conversations or something that you give her out on a kayaking trip that only you two are there for. Pictures, experiences that you guys can go, like where you go can make
I
a
feel
big
like you're
difference.
trying to give like a roundabout way of saying getting freaky on the lake in a kayak, and I'm just gonna let you know, I think that's harder than you think.
Oh, that's definitely harder than I think. Oh yeah, it's definitely harder than I think, but you figure it out.
Yeah.
Dude, the Chimay Trappist, dude. Oh man, fantastic,
Yeah, it's silky,
fantastic.
man. I like it.
Wow,
It's great. Yeah.
very good.
I was thinking though it might be too much of a shock coming from a pumpkin with all the spice because it's
Oh,
got a
I'm
very
thinking, thank
mellow
goodness,
notes
like
to it.
I've switched. I'm thinking, thank goodness I've switched because I could not take any more of the Rumpkin. I was thinking I was gonna follow the Rumpkin with Uncle Jacob's stout, and now I'm like, I think I'm gonna give that one a little break. I'm gonna wait a minute until I do that one because that was too much. That was way too much. We're gonna go
Yeah,
with Chimay here. Awesome. I could
yeah.
sip on this damn thing all day. I mean, well, so it's not this is still a decently thick beer. I'm not gonna lie, it's still like it's got a good I don't know, frontal
It
taste to it.
it's thick in a different way though, because when I think of like the Trappist beers, I think of it instead of drinking something that is like thick as in like it's solid, right? Like
Yeah,
it's like sticky and it sticks to you. I think of like a Trappist beer more as like trying to figure out how to say this. Uh, Something with good viscosity, like an oil or something like that. Like it's thin, it's light, it's well aerated, but
yep,
at the same time, it's got some body to it.
yep.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way the
I
Chimay
would I
feels.
would say that's a good definitely a good description. Yeah, that's definitely a good description. It's not I wouldn't say it's thick like a lot of your the Rumpkin or let's say
But that
a
chunks
lot of
of
your
freaking
porters or
pumpkin is
stouts
pretty
are gonna
thick, dude.
be. Fuck, no. I'm not gonna say it's as thick as your porters or stouts are gonna be, but it may be a little bit more than like a shandy or an IPA. But it's
It's got
definitely got a really good taste to it.
Yeah, it's got
It's
some
really
viscosity.
good.
Have
Yep.
you have you gotten down on any like farmhouse ales or saisons or any of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff? It's kind of like that on the front end of the taste. Like it's got that
Yep.
kind of build up. I like those kind of beers, man. They're easy to drink, and I have no idea. Like I think about it all the time. I'm like, how could I
What
make
is
that?
that? That's a really good taste too. I'm not sure what that is, but it is a really good taste. Yeah. Orange peel. Yep. Coriander and orange peel. That makes sense.
Well, we
Yep.
are coriander brothers right now. This has got a boatload of coriander in it. Uh,
Nice.
Boom. Yeah, I think if I was to ever make a beer and like a hard beer, I think that style of brewing is probably I would think out of my league. Like I don't think I could make that if I tried.
Oh, what is that? A Trappist?
Trappist,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you can't. I don't think you can you?
Well, there's a reason why they're
No, it's
Trappists, and there's
because
only so
it's
many of
brewed
them
by
in their
Trappist
region. Yeah,
monks.
yeah.
Yeah, 12 monasteries, 6 in Belgium, 2 in the Netherlands, and 1 in Austria, Italy, England, and the United States.
Yeah, yeah. What's the
Top.
one in the U.S.? Thelonious Monk, or what was that?
see. What is that?
Let's see.
A premiere?
U.S. Trappist Brewery.
Oh, there we go. Mepkin Abbey. I think that's it.
No, Spencer
it's the
Trappist Ale.
Spencer Brewery. Yeah, it's the
Out
Spencer
of
Brewery.
Massachusetts, man. I'm gonna have to check this out.
Oh yeah, brewed by the monks of St. Joseph's Abbey. Spencer is the first and only certified Trappist beer made in the United States.
I have never had anything from these people, and they have a fruit series, grapefruit IPA.
Yeah, a
Oh,
peach
and the heavens
saison
opened.
farmhouse fruit ale.
There you go, man.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Why the
Dude,
hell
this
did I think
sounds awesome. I want to check this place out.
I said Thelonious Monk. He's a famous piano player. Hold on, that's not what I was thinking. Brother Thelonious Monk. Yeah. Belgian style Abbey ales brewed by Trappist monks. But it's not a true. Oh, it's a Belgian style ale. It's not a full Trappist. It's not official.
Spent grain is our main solid waste product. Local farmers use the grain residue from the brewing process as nutrient-rich animal feed and compost.
Yeah. Oh, and it's not even called Brother Thelonious. That's by North Coast Brewing. I'm an idiot, man. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, though, man. Yeah, they reuse it.
Very cool. Yeah. Which, I mean, honestly, a lot of people are trying to jump on that train, which we know that needs to be something that needs to be jumped on. It's a recyclable resources, right? Whatever can be used or what can't be used can be used in another instance.
Yeah.
When I worked I worked for the paper industry for a little bit, and I found out in terms of like newspapers, cardboard, things like that, they can be recycled so many times until finally the fibers from the cardboard or newspaper can't be broken down anymore. And what they do with that is they actually take the fibers from the cardboard and newspaper and send it out to dairy farms for animals to, what do I want to say? Bed in. It's bedding. Really, that's what it is. And if it can be used in any way, shape, or form, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's all about reusing and everything. The issue is, the hell am I trying to say? It's the preparation of its use, like how much effort and time has gone into it. Like, I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm trying to say. Okay, corn syrup, for instance, right? It's made from recycled, like corn husks, or not corn husks, the corn cobs. So the center of the corn, they use that to make the corn syrup. But it's been prepared so much. It's got so much shit in it. It's like, do I really want to eat this? I don't know. It's the way I think about it. That said, the cardboard thing is pretty cool.
It is. So I was reading a little bit more on Spencer Brewery. It says, with the blessings of the abbot, we embarked upon a 2-year data gathering mission. We visited each Trappist brewery to learn everything we could from our European brothers. Beginning at the Abbey of Westmail, we slowly made our way around Belgium, staying at the monasteries and making friends, receiving good advice, and drinking some of the world's best beer. The final stop on our first trip was the Abbey of St. Sixtus.
Who says being a monk sucks? Shoot,
Right?
give me that life, man, right?
And more
I swear up all worldly possessions if I can go travel around breweries in Europe and try different alcohols and then brew my own. Yeah. Wait, what?
What? What?
Dun. Oh
Oh,
man. Yeah, the Trappist brews, that's an interesting one. I think the monks that live there, or I don't know, man. That's a different life. But at the same time, if I had to be a monk, I think that's something I could get on the board, the bandwagon.
if I had to be
Oh,
a monk, I'd be a drinking monk. That'd
I'd
be
be
for
a
sure.
drink. I'd be a fat
I'd be
monk,
a
man.
drinking monk, a fat
Yeah,
drinking monk. Yep.
I'd be that monk from Robin Hood who was always drunk, man. Uh,
Little
Little
John.
John, yeah. All I can think of now that I said Little John was freaking Men in Tights.
Dude, I was thinking of the fucking bear. I
I'm
was thinking of the
drowning.
bear.
I'm drowning. Stand up. Dave Chappelle, man, he's hilarious.
Oh gosh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. So we were talking about reusing stuff. Uh, Again, probably a fact you didn't know about me in my mysterious previous life. So in college, I wrote my like it's not a thesis paper. It was only an undergraduate degree, but it was like my final like keystone project, and it was all about organic farming practices in the U.S. And I used Vermont as a case study because Vermont has the most organic farmland um, in comparison with the total volume of land available. Um, California has the most organic farmland, but as far as total volume of the state, Vermont has the highest rate. But anyways, one of the things that I was studying was this one farm that was close to the coast. They partnered with, I guess it was like a fisherman or something like that, and that fisherman had all these empty shells, and he had no idea what to do with them, so they were just piling up, and it was just empty, like just a bunch of like shells from like mussels and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all the local farmers started getting all the shells and using that to put minerals back into the earth, and it increased their yield and made better crops and all that stuff. So like just thinking like little stuff like that, like the world can. Here's my hippy dippy, hashtag Joey is a hippie. The world can provide a life cycle for us if we choose to follow it. We do have a lot of waste that you can't really do anything with, but there are a lot of things, especially organic matter, that hey, you can use for nutrients, you can use for energy, you can use for just about anything.
Yep.
If we put our mind to it, there's got to be an ROI. Sometimes it costs more to do this than traditional methods, so that's why it's disfavorable. But at the same time, if you look at the total cost, like the cost of the waste, cost of the environment, again, hashtag Joey is a hippie. There is a real cost that gets associated with that we don't really think about.
Nope, you're right.
Yeah, and I've been reading this book. I'm on this library kick, or this book kick where I've been going through my own personal library. So I've been reading this book called Beyond Oil, and it's got me like thinking about like different, if oil reserves were to be depleted, what the hell are we going to do? Like, we're not really there yet with other technologies to fully take us away from it. Crazy stuff.
We're not. Yeah. You're right. You're right. There's so many things we could talk about. Good thing we have a podcast.
Oh shit! Damn, people listen to us? No, I'm just kidding.
Dude,
what?
actually, what's funny is I got a message today from somebody thanking us for making the podcast, and honestly, that guys, reach out anytime you want and say thank you. I am always willing to connect with any of you. And say what's up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you guys have feedback for us, let us know. We are always listening to feedback, whether it is constructive or not. If you guys want to say, hey, you're awesome, or you guys want to say, hey, you guys suck, but you would suck less if you did this, we will listen to that too.
I get criticism tips all the time, and not in a bad way, but like in a, I would really like it if you guys could like incorporate this or do this. Like it's been like that stuff's great. In fact, my favorite criticism so far actually came, at least it's the one on top of my head, came this week, and it was from a gentleman I was chatting with. He's like, like you guys should really look into having a thorough write-up after each podcast. like, go to Fiverr, Fiverr, and it's like a journalism platform, and like pay some, aspiring journalists, $10 to, listen to your episode, pick out a few nuggets, and then write something up for you guys so you guys can disseminate. Like that would be really cool. It's like that's actually a really good idea.
It's not a bad idea at all.
That's
Yeah.
not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, that's my favorite criticism so far. But I also like all the feedback. Like LinkedIn is how we communicate. We need to be better at other social media platforms.
Obviously.
Yeah,
we
obviously.
drink a lot of beer. So.
We drink a lot of beer. We got kids, full-time jobs, hobbies and whatnot.
Shit.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think once I, start doing the brews, I want to do like every brew that I do, I want to live stream the process.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I'll figure out the appropriate platform for that and make that happen. But I don't know, man. I think some good things are to come. I still think we've got to do some playing around with and get some merch out there because.
Oh yeah.
I think,
dude.
We're
I
up to like
tagged you today
12,000.
in some construction grade soap. Construction grade soap. That would be an interesting.
Fast orange or.
Yeah, actually, it was what was it? It was campfire, whiskey, and gunpowder.
Oh, dude.
I'm sold. Right on
yeah.
the description, like alone, campfire, whiskey, and gunpowder. You had me at campfire.
You get Patrick. you get Patrick McNamara or Ron Swanson to be your spokesperson. I think you'll sell a shitload of that. I'm just saying.
Dude, I was looking at a Jeep earlier this week, and the color was burgundy, and my mom was like, "If you get the Jeep, what would you name it?" I'm like, "Ron." She's like, "Why Ron?" And I'm like, "Oh,
Ron Burgundy.
Because it's Ron Burgundy, and it enjoys Scotch. It likes Scotch. Scotch. She's like, "Son, you're an alcoholic." I'm like,
Ron, what's love like? Well, it's like skyrockets.
Flight afternoon delight.
Yeah, there's we talked about this again on the last podcast because we talked about this on a lot of podcasts, but there's a genre of movies that I just miss. I am a kid at heart, damn it, and give me some, and I'm inappropriate. Give me some, Anchorman. Give me some old school. Give me some. Hell, I don't know. There's like 30 of them that are just classics. Give me that, Broken Lizard style humor. I need some of that, man.
Yep. Yes.
Do a COVID Broken Lizard style movie, all about COVID. That shit would be awesome, guys.
Oh, Broken Lizard. Let's do some Super Troopers on.
Yeah, there you go, man. Let a COVID Super Troopers like that. That'd be great.
Yeah, it would.
Although honestly, I think after COVID, we're all going to be sick of COVID so much so that we're not going to want to see COVID related stuff. And that brings me back to AU real quick. This is probably a good place to end since we're almost 2 hours in. Hour and 52 minutes. I was peeking through the titles and I didn't see that many COVID related topics. I was thinking like, I saw a few, but I'm like, there weren't as many as I thought. I was thinking I'd be overwhelmed reading the amount of topics that were focusing on, using technology for, a pandemic disruption or something like adopting new technology to, for displaced work, like all this sort of stuff. Like I figured this would be the norm, like, collaborating in this environment. There wasn't that
pandemic environment. No.
Yeah. I don't know if maybe they were just thinking, oh, people are sick of this.
I think so. I think that's not really the message people want to hear. Hey, if you're sick, you can do this way. But,
Well, it's not about being sick. It's about like working remote is what I was thinking. And that.
Well, really. Yep.
And that's not a message that was really like people weren't harping on the fact that COVID was going on and we adopted this technology and we saw this benefit because of like that's not the message people were communicating. I don't know why. Hell, that would have been my keynote.
Yeah, I
BIM
get it.
360 because
Because you're working from home.
Because COVID. Dum dum dum.
Dun, dun,
Have you ever been
dun.
trapped at home, away from the office, needed access to your files, needed to collaborate with coworkers in a timely manner?
You need BIM 360.
You need to sign up for BIM 360. Take advantage of Autodesk Extended Trial. No, I'm just kidding. But I am saying, man, like BIM 360, Autodesk shares are skyrocketing right now. BIM 360 is the gold standard in this, and there's a lot of great technologies out there. But in our space, these type of platforms, they're doing really well.
They are. They're doing really well. The cloud hosting platforms.
But, I am interested to see what happens for AU this year. But I think maybe that's a topic for another time because I am all out of beer here. So.
Well, I have plenty more beer, but I'm thinking I should pretty much be calling it soon because
those are 10
Dave's
points,
gonna get
whatever.
sloppy really soon.
When you start referring to yourself in the third person, maybe we should start cutting it. Like I should be like, all right, Dave said Dave.
Dave said Dave, so we're gonna go ahead and just cut this.
Dave's not here, man. All right, now a message from our sponsors. Thank you for another episode of Brewing with BIM. Bye. Just kidding. But yeah, that's. I mean, is there anything else you wanted to recap on that? I am excited to show off my brew setup. When we get to it. But again, guys, this is the episode about nothing. An ode to Seinfeld and an ode to Construction Dorks. You guys do great work and keep putting them out so we can keep listening and getting ideas.
Yep. Heck yeah, man.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Dave, I'm sure I'll talk to you tomorrow, bud.
Talk to you tomorrow. And for all of you out there, thank you for listening, and we look forward to having you on another episode of Brewing with BIM.
Or as we like to call it, Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. Like, share, leave feedback. Thank you, guys.